Hi, everybody. So today we're going to talk about two types of visas that are marriage based. That's the K1 visa, which is the fiancé visa, and the spouse visa. And those two visas have very different processes, and you can choose them based on the situation that you're in. So let's talk about the K1 visa, which is the fiancé visa. So this visa is a non-immigrant visa. So it just allows you, it gives you, it's a temporary visa that allows you to enter into the US. And then once you get into the US, you have to get married within 90 days of you entering the US. And then you start the process of adjusting your status to become a permanent resident, get your green card. So the K1 visa is only filed by a US citizen, so it cannot be filed by a green card holder. So green card holders only have the option for the spouse visa, but they do not have the option for the fiancé visa. So the K1 visa, basically the first process that you have to do is this, the fiancé, who is the US citizen, files an I-129F, which is the petition for a fiance alien. So pretty much you're petitioning for your fiance to come to the U.S. And the cost for the I-129F is about $535. So you file for that, and then after it goes through the approval process. Once it's approved, it's sent to the NVC, which is the National Visa Center. So then after it's sent to the National Visa Center, that's when you can fill out the DS-160 to be able to apply for the K1 visa. So for your fiance to then go to the interview, the fiance visa interview to get the visa to come to the US. So the I-129F is about $535. Then you have to do the DS-160 for you to get the K1 visa, which is about $265. And then once you land in the US, you have 90 days. You have 90 days for you to get married. And then once you get married, you can start the process of adjusting to become a permanent resident in the US. So, which is about $1,225. So, kind of like looking at the whole process for the K1 visa, when you total up the 535 and the 265 and the $1,225, it comes roughly to about $2,000 that you spend on the K1 visa. So for you to get the K1 visa, it takes about 7 to 9 months. So it doesn't take as long as the spouse visa. But when you look at it overall, it's more expensive than the spouse visa, but also it'll take you a much longer time for you to get your green card. So I mean, you can use a fiance visa for so many reasons. Some people just you don't want to wait. You don't want to wait for your fiance. You want your fiance to come to live with you in the U.S. as soon as possible. And so that's why some people, to them, it's they don't care about how long it takes for their international fiance to get a green card. They don't care how much they're gonna spend. And if that's your option, then the K1 visa is that's the option, because then it gives you a slightly shorter time for your fiance to get to the USA. So the other thing is, once you get to the US, you get married, and you file for the adjustment of status, which is the I-485. You kind of have to wait. You have to wait for the whole green card process to take place for you to get the green card. But then once you get the green card, you get a conditional 2-year green card. Conditional 2-year green card. So it's like a temporary green card. So after the 2 years, you have to apply. I think you can start applying about, is it 90 or so days before the 2 years is over? You send in your application to remove the condition. So you remove the condition, and then once you remove the condition, they'll send you a 10-year green card, and then after 1 year, you can apply to become a citizen. So it takes, if you're married, uh, if you're married, then you can get your citizenship after 3 years of you getting your green card. So then the other visa that we were going to talk about is the spouse visa. So this visa is so you as the sponsor in the US, you can be a US citizen, you can be a green card holder here in the US, and so you go get married, and go get married to your spouse in in whatever country that you're in. One of the requirements is uh, the marriage license. The marriage has to be legal in the place it was performed. Okay, so whatever you get married, make sure it's a place that you can get a legal marriage certificate in. So you get married, and then you start the process of getting your spouse to the US. So, you file the I-130, which is a petition for the alien relative. The I-130 is about $535, which is the same price as the I-129F for the spouse. So you apply for that, and then, once your application is approved as the applicant, the US citizen, you filing for your spouse, after it's approved, it's sent to the NVC, which is the National Visa Center, and then from that time, your spouse can go to the embassy. No, your spouse does have to apply for the DS-260. So does application for the DS-260, and then it's about $325 for the DS-260, and then they file. So there's DS-260, which is the marriage visa for once the application for the I-130 has been approved. Apply for the DS-260, which is about $325, and then you have to file an I-864, which is an affidavit of support, which is another $120, and then I think they charge a green card production fee of about $220. So you send those at the same time. I think you also need to send in your affidavit of support also for your K1 visa. But when you're looking at the spouse visa, you're looking at spending about 1,200 US dollars compared to like the $2,000 for the spouse visa. And then they usually say that the processing times for your spouse visa is about 24 months. And depending on the backlog, sometimes it can be even longer. But what happens is, if you do file for the spouse, if you go the spouse visa route, what happens is you'll the 24 months are going to be over, and then you get the option to so you get your green card. You get your green card sooner than you would if you're filing for the K1 visa, the spouse visa. So you have an option when you're filling out the application to say, to tell them to apply for the social security card for your SSN number. You have that option in the application, and if you choose that option, what they do is once you get to the US, they'll mail it to the residence that you put in the application. So the spouse visa takes longer, about 24, it takes about, they say about 24 months for it to be processed. Might be longer, might be shorter, depending on the backlog that you get. But you get into the US as a permanent resident, which is good, because then once you get here, uh it's whether depending on whether you asked for your social to be mailed to your residence, or whether you get here and then mail and then apply for your social security card, and that and then you'll get your green card mailed out to you, you'll get your work permit, your work authorization, and you're good to go. So if you get married that way, it's once you land in the US, it's easy for you to start and get going, into working and becoming a green card, becoming a permanent resident in the US, as opposed to a spouse visa. You get here and you have to start the process of adjusting your status for you to be able to get your green card. But they might, so they yeah, depending on how long it's going to take, they as a K1 visa, they might send you the work permit sooner, and so you might be able to start working as they're processing your green card application. So yeah, so those are the two marriage-based visas: the K1 visa, which is a spouse visa, or the the married the spouse visa, which is you get married in outside the country, and then you move to the U.S. as a permanent resident. So if you are married in the US, so you are in the US and your spouse is in the US, you can send in all your forms at the same time. You can send in your I-30, your I-130, your your I-864, the affidavit of support. You can send in all your papers together if both of you are in the US. But if one spouse is in if the sponsor is in the US and the spouse is outside the US, you kind of have to wait for the process. So you send in the I-130. Once it gets approved, it's sent to the NVC, and then the NVC starts the process, sends you the paperwork for your spouse to start applying for the marriage visa. So those are the two options that you have, and depending on your situation, you can choose either. You can choose either. It really depends on if you're comfortable, overpaying for the spouse visa to get your spouse sooner in the US, or if you just if you're on a budget and you wanna get your green card sooner than you would in a K1 visa, the fiance visa, then the spouse visa is your way to go. Hopefully that was educative or informative to anybody who was listening. Let me know in the comment section if you have any questions. And yeah. So I'm not a lawyer. I'm just providing you with information so that you know. Ask me any questions that you want, and I'll try as much as possible to answer what I can. But all the information that you need is in the travel.state.gov website. You can also find information on the USCIS website. So that's one of the good things about the US is they put everything, all the information, the steps that you're going to follow in the website, and you can go follow them and do it yourself. So you have to make sure that you know the instructions, because if you don't know the instructions and you're sending incomplete, incorrect paperwork, then it's going to delay your process. So you have to make sure you send in complete information, you're not missing anything, because if you do miss anything, if you send something, if you don't send something you're supposed to send, then it's going to delay your application process. But also in those two processes, you have to do, there's the medical examination that takes place in the fiancé and the spouse visa, the vaccinations that need to take place, and there's some other required documents like passport photos and birth certificates. And also in the whole process, uh, you have to prove that your marriage is not fraudulent, and you have to prove that your marriage is bona fide. So you need to provide information about your wedding, pictures about your weddings, things that you shared together, your messages, proof that your marriage is bona fide. You prove that this relationship is for real as a fiance, as a spouse. All that information, all that documentation, the pictures, uh, all those, send them in with your application. That way it's gonna make the process go much quicker than, because if you don't send in enough information, then they'll come back to ask for more clarification, more proof that to show that your marriage is bona fide and legal, but also not fraudulent. All right. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Otherwise, I love you guys, and hopefully this was helpful to somebody. Thank you, and have a good one. Bye.